Class, I'm going to try to keep this video short. This class is to help you understand how to create a hierarchy of objects. Oftentimes I get students who pick the wrong thing as their abstract superclass, and so I'm going to give you a couple examples. Starting from chapter 9, they give the example of the employee class, and I'm going to extend it a little bit differently with programmers, program managers, and testers, which you hopefully recognize are job categories from Microsoft from my Details Matter video. So let's talk about some of the fields that these things have, and to try to figure out what is a good superclass and what is a good subclass. So I'm going to put in the name and ID for employees. For programmers, I'm going to add number of lines per day that they write. I'm going to try to give it a bonus, but I also want you to think, is that bonus specific to programmers? And the answer is no. So really, that bonus needs to be for all employees. Program managers, they have a lot of meetings, so we'll count the number of meetings per week. And testers, they'll have a Boolean for whether that tester writes code or just tries to break things in the UI. And then let's try giving them some functions. So we can have a write code function for programmers and remind you of schedule for program managers and breaking code for testers. But let's imagine we try to add a function complaining about the number of hours for testers. Again, that is not specific to testers, so that really needs to go with the superclass employees. And I also want you to think in trying to figure out whether it's a good superclass. The superclass should be something that would, if you tried to hire a person and you put out a job listing and you said, I want to hire an employee, people would look at you strange. And that makes it a good abstract superclass because it's really not something you want to create an instance of. You really want to say, I want to hire a programmer, a program manager, or a tester. That makes these good subclasses. And also what makes these good subclasses is that they have things that are specific to that job title. So program managers work differently than programmers work differently than testers. So that tells me that I've got the good classes. Now I'm going to switch up here to from the problems from chapter 9. Let's create a vehicle class, and we have cars, SUVs, monster trucks, and vehicles. One problem that a lot of students have when they think about hierarchies is they pick something like Honda, and they think the Honda is a class. And while you maybe could, Honda really isn't a class because that's what we call a make for a car, and really all vehicles have a make, so really that belongs in the vehicle class. So something like a Honda is just an instance of a car. Now SUVs are different than cars because they typically have a towing weight, they have a hitch, so that's something that makes SUVs different. It's not just a Honda or a Toyota, and you can see that if we had created a class of Honda or Toyota, then we couldn't have classes for cars and SUVs. Monster trucks, maybe there's something like a crushing weight or a crushing index that's specific to how monster trucks are because they're so big. So that would be a good set of classes. So now I'm going to change it up to clothes. So let's just pay attention to the first two categories here, clothes and Levi's. So there's a wealth of opportunities for picking classes. Just imagine you walk into a store and you go up to somebody and you ask them for a particular item that you like to buy. Let's say Levi's jeans, okay? So Levi's, let's try making that as our class. So Levi's are going to extend our clothes, and let's try putting a manufacturer and a waist and a length and a color and whether it's distressed all in this class here. But really, manufacturers aren't specific to Levi's. Manufacturers are specific to any clothes. And let's instead create a pants category that extends clothes, because a lot of these things here, waist and length, those belong to all pants. And colors, that really belongs to the clothes. Distressed, that's really a factor for many different pants. So what makes Levi's different? I would argue that in general, Levi's aren't a separate subclass, but rather they are just simply an instance of pants. But if you're really an aficionado of Levi's, then you know that there is something that's different about Levi's that's different than all the other jean manufacturers or pants manufacturers like Dockers, and that is that they have a model number, like a 505, 511, 514. That's an integer, so that's different about Levi's. And so we could create a class of Levi's that has that model number that extends pants. We could also have a Carhartt brand. So this Carhartt can also extend pants, but it would have to have a different thing, like some sort of a style, rather than the model number. Let's create a subclass shirts. So shirts have a neck size and a sleeve size, and those are different than pants, and they're unique to shirts and not clothes. So that tells me that's also a good thing. So again, when I want you to think about when you, I think there's tons of items that you could think of in a store. I want you to think about when you go to a store, what do you go to buy? You're going to buy a what? Okay, maybe that's a Levi's jeans. Then I want you to think of what is that Levi's jeans a member of a larger category where they all have the same kind of things. So in my case, this would be pants. They all have waists, lengths, whether they're distressed, etc. And I also want you to think, okay, so if you go into the store and you say, I need some pants, they'll say, yeah, go right over there. That makes sense. What is the category where it's abstract, where if you ask them for it, they would look at you funny? Because if you walk into the Gap and you say, I want to buy some clothes, they're going to look at you funny. Well, it's like, what do you mean? Are you looking for pants? Are you looking for tops? Jackets? What are you looking for? That makes it a good abstract class. So I think that probably defines it best for you. Think about, your individual item. That's really an item that you're going to create. So I really don't want you to think Levi's is a class, because in general, it's not a good class. Really your item is, let's say I'm going to get a Dockers pants of, certain weight, waist, and length. So I would create a new pants with manufacturer, Dockers, colors, blue, blah, blah, blah. And then I want you to think of the class where it doesn't make any sense. So if I just create a clothes, imagine if you walk in any store and you ask for clothes, they're not going to know what you're talking about. They need more information. That is your abstract class. So hopefully that gives you a good sense for how to lay out your hierarchies and how to pick an abstract class that really is abstract, and also to make sure that each of your fields really applies to that subclass only and not to the superclass.